All right, welcome to today's explainer. We're looking at the anxious mind moving forward with fear. Let's get right into it. So I want to start off with a question that really hits close to home for a lot of us. Have you ever noticed something? Sometimes our own minds try so incredibly hard to protect us that they actually make it way harder to just go about our daily lives. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating source on how we process anxiety, how we navigate those racing thoughts, and ultimately how we can reclaim our lives. And hey, if you're someone who constantly feels on edge, I want to validate exactly what you're experiencing right now. Because the truth is, our minds aren't actually out to get us. Yeah, your mind is literally just trying to keep you safe. You can kind of think of it like an overprotective bodyguard. It's constantly scanning the horizon, right? Trying to spot danger before it even has a chance to happen. But the catch is, well, sometimes it gets a little too good at its job. It starts sounding the alarm, sending out these intense signals of panic and distress, even when there's absolutely no real danger around. They're just false alarms. And to show you exactly how this exhausting overprotection feels in practice, we've got a great visual. Picture this. You're driving the bus of your life. It's a long trip, you've got your passengers on board, the engine is purring along, and you're just happily cruising down the road. But then, out of nowhere, a passenger in the very back row, we'll call them anxiety, suddenly stands up and just starts shouting, completely hijacking the journey. And they don't just shout once and sit down. It escalates, and it escalates fast. What if you make a mistake? What if you have a heart attack right now? What if a car pulls out in front of you? What if something terrible happens to the people you love? What if the tire blows out? What if you completely fail? What if this feeling literally never goes away? Notice how fast those intrusive thoughts just stack on top of each other? It's this wild escalation of fear that just builds and builds. So what's our gut reaction? We fall right into a trap. We try fighting that passenger. We turn around, we try to reason with the anxiety, argue with it, force it to calm down, and eventually we're just desperately trying to silence it. But in reality, something really counterintuitive happens. The more you try to shut that passenger up, the louder they get. The more you argue, the stronger it becomes. And then suddenly, you realize you're paying way more attention to this noisy passenger in the back than to the actual road right in front of you. And man, it is not just a mental distraction. Your body totally joins the chat. We get these uncontrollable physical symptoms: a tight chest, a knot in your stomach, that lump in your throat, the urge to just constantly take a deep breath. And I really want to acknowledge right now that nobody chooses to feel these things. Nobody wakes up and thinks, you know what, today I'd love to feel a heavy weight sitting on my chest. No, they just show up, totally uninvited, sometimes right in the middle of a perfectly good day. And this exposes a massive, absolutely crucial paradigm shift. See, we are so often taught this myth that we just need to get rid of bad feelings, to just think positive and stay positive. But honestly, that is exhausting. The psychological reality of how the mind actually works is completely different. The harder we push something away, the harder it tends to push right back. The faster we run, the faster it follows us. Years of fighting this battle, it just leaves us completely drained. Which brings us to an incredibly profound realization from our source material today. Real change begins when we stop trying so hard to force it. Just let that sink in for a second. We don't need to try and delete our thoughts or magically hypnotize ourselves into some state of absolute perfection. Actually, scratch that. We simply need to make room for the pain. We need to reconnect with what's already happening inside of us without trying to aggressively fix it all the time. Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we put that into practice? Well, we can translate that poetic concept into a super practical daily routine called the object exercise. Here's how it works. Step 1, choose a small physical object, like a stone, a keychain, maybe a little toy. Step 2, let it represent that bothersome, anxious thought you've been wrestling with. Step 3, just carry it with you for a week. Put it on your desk, keep it in your pocket. And step 4, notice it. Don't fight it. Every single time you see it, your mind is probably going to try to spin up that same scary story. But this time, when that fear flares up, instead of fighting it, you're just going to notice it, take a breath, and use this exact phrase. Okay, I hear you. That's it. It brings it right back to acknowledging that noisy passenger on our bus. You're basically saying, hey, you're there, you're talking, but I am still driving. You acknowledge the thought, but you keep your hands firmly on the steering wheel of your life. And you might be wondering, why on earth are we making room for this discomfort? Well, it's because the price of love is pain. Feeling pain doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. Actually, sometimes it means the exact opposite. It means you are fighting for something that truly matters to you. The places that hurt the most are so often the places we value the absolute most. Which means that true healing begins when we sit beside the pain. I really want to reassure you here. Life is not about eliminating discomfort. Think about it. We don't grieve things we never cared about, right? We don't worry about things that mean nothing to us. Learning to make room for our humanity means realizing that healing doesn't start when the pain miraculously vanishes. It starts when we're finally willing to just sit beside it. Let's elevate this with another really vivid visualization. Life is a lot like the ocean. Some days, there's a huge storm and waves are crashing right over the deck. And when that happens, we usually spend all our energy fighting the waves, trying to somehow stop the storm. But seasoned sailors, they know better. They don't try to stop the wind. They accept the waves are there, and they simply focus their eyes on the lighthouse. So what gets you home? What's your destination? Your lighthouse could be your family. It could be someone you love, your work, your faith, or just something else that is deeply meaningful to you. You've got to identify your own lighthouse, because anxiety might still show up tomorrow, and the specific fears might change, but your lighthouse, that remains constant. Turning your eyes back toward it is the exact moment you begin taking your life back. So the absolute crucial point to drive home from this entire explainer is right here. Freedom begins when fear is still there, and you choose to live anyway. You don't wait for the fear to pack up and leave. You succeed by moving forward with the fear riding right along with you. That passenger in the back might keep talking, the waves might keep rising, but you know what? You can still stay behind the wheel. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today, and I want to leave you with an empowering, maybe even slightly provocative question to chew on based on everything we've unpacked. This week, what's going to be your object? Seriously, what small thing are you going to carry around with you to remind yourself to acknowledge the passenger, but keep driving toward your lighthouse? Find that object, make room for the fear, and choose to live anyway. Because once you stop fighting your own mind, you might be shocked by just how much energy you finally have to build your actual life. So what's it going to be? Thanks for joining, and until next time, keep driving.